we want to think of a box. Think of maybe like a shoebox or something with flat corners and square edges. So you see that corner we have there. We need to leave that corner, and we need to leave the corner over here as well as the bangs. The bangs are going to be the longest part of the whole haircut. Most guys' cuts, I feel, the bang's going to be the longest. So we're going to take the sides down with the number 2 blade, and then go across the top just flat. These are going to be long, and so are the corners. And right on the top crown here is going to be short. It's going to be one of the shortest pieces on the whole haircut. So then we're going to round off the back after that. So we're just going to have almost a horseshoe of hair right here. So with all of that, I'm going to get started with the number 2 blade. Okay, the clippers are going to go in a nice vertical motion, just straight up, just like the shoebox, just like the corners. Everything's going to be parallel with the walls or parallel with the ceiling, either vertical or horizontal. So you want to just go straight up the back of the head. You see, like, the clippers just went straight up. I didn't round off the corner. So everywhere you want to go, you want to just go straight up with the clippers. If your client has fine hair, you might want to start out with maybe a 3 3/4 blade or a 3 1/2 blade. But generally, a flat top is usually a number 2 blade. Sideways. This is the easy part of the cut. This is just going up, nice vertical motion. And 3/4 of your haircut is done within 5 minutes. This part, I guess, would be a no-brainer. As long as you don't turn that corner. If you turn that corner, you lost the flat top. And if you cut off the bangs, you lost the flat top too. I'm going to add a little bit of pomade here. There's a variety of different products you could use for this, but primarily what you want the hair to do is just stick up. Just stick all straight up, as if you stuck his head into a light socket. So everything's going to come up straight off the head, like this, just going straight up. And if he has really fine hair, you can use hairspray, gel, and blow dryer to blow it up. But he's got pretty thick hair, so we're just going to go stick it all straight up here. The reason we're doing this is so we can get a nice true cut on the top, because when we comb it up and cut it, we want everything to stick straight up. And sometimes you have to work harder. If he has a cowlick or something like that, you have to work harder to get that up. But the main focus is in the bangs. You want to have your bangs go nice and straight like this. Now you notice I'm using a big comb here. I don't know if it was designed for flat tops or not, but it works really well because it's a big, wide plane here. And it's nice, it's flat. It's got long, fine teeth. We can just set it on there. If you ever look down just a minute. You can set it on there and you can see how it can cover the whole area of the head. We can take it in one swoop, just cut all this off. So we're going to cut off maybe about, I'd say, 1/2 inch to more like 1 inch on top. Now that we applied the product, we're going to do some clipper over comb work. But remember to oil your clippers, especially if he's got product in your hair, because if he has a lot of product in the hair, the clippers are going to bog down just a little more. So we're going to add a little bit of oil, and we're just going to turn the clippers on, put a few drops in there, let the oil kind of run around a little bit. Maybe move the handle up and down. That'll get the oil in there. So now I'm going to start right here, the top dead center of his head. That can be nice and short. I could almost rest the comb right on top of his head at that point. But notice the comb is never going to be like this or like this. It's always going to be flat. Always going to be flat like this, or it's always going to be flat going vertical on the sides. So this corners are going to stay. So we're resting it on his head here. Maybe if you look down. We're just going to run it right across there. And you're going to be okay as long as you don't turn the corners there. You just want to have that nice and flat on top. Now there's a flat top comb that has a little bubble in it, a little level. You stick it in there and you kind of look at the bubble and see if the level's right. And if the level's right, then the haircut should be right. But if I could suggest getting into something just as a regular comb and just try to do it with your eyes. Just try to focus your eyes and train your eyes to see what's flat. That way you don't have to rely on a little bubble to give you a nice flat top. So then we can go this way too if we'd like, clipper over comb. As long as our comb's flat, notice the comb's still flat. That'll allow for the bangs to be longer. See the distance the bangs have to travel here is a lot longer, whereas this is almost rested right on his head at the back part. So if I go like this, I'd cut the bangs off and lose the flat top. So I'm gonna raise this up and go straight across. Turn this way. Now you can see we have too much hair there. So all we're gonna do is comb all this down, and then the comb is gonna be vertical. Just like that. We're never gonna cut that corner. As long as that comb's vertical, we should be okay. You comb even those bangs down, catch those bangs. Just as long as we're vertical, we're okay. Now that kind of set in there a little nicely. And if it's vertical, the head could, because it bends, it'll provide natural graduation. Because if your comb's straight like this, let me turn you this way a little bit. If your comb's straight like this hair is going to be shorter and it's going to go longer as it goes up naturally because of the bend of his head. So by doing this, combing it all down, picking it up and cutting it with a flat vertical comb, then it should go short to longer. One other thing is when you're doing the top, going along clipper over comb like this here, you want to make sure you're not pressing too hard on the comb. Because if you do that, you're going to change the angle of everything. So you want to make sure you're just kind of gliding on top, because if you're pressing, you'll lose some of the shape. So we're just going to just rest the clippers on top there. So even we can go this way if we want. As long as that comb's flat, we can do this. Get any excess hair that's over here or over here. Just have to remember to keep those bangs. You lose those bangs, you lose the haircut. Now if you take a look at the back, look up just a little bit, there we go. Take a look at the back, we can see all this hair is too much here. And the back's the only area where we don't have to keep the corners. The back is the only place where we can actually round it off. So I'm gonna go through the back at this angle now. So I'm actually turning the corner here. I'm gonna round it off. So if you notice this comb angle, I'm just gonna round right through here, blending it into this top dead center. And over here, it's a little bit tricky because you're going from a round corner to a flat corner. So it's a little tricky to incorporate some of it. So what I like to think of is just kind of holding the comb here, and then as you go around it, let's just make it flat, so it's flat, and then that bend starts to happen in there. Okay, as I'm rounding off the back here, this is almost the same length as this. So we want to continue this length all the way through. So what we can do is actually go back with our size 2 and just go right up here and just kind of connect this together. What we can also do at this point, by combing all this down, we can go ahead and see if we missed any hairs. We can go straight up here, see if anything's happening we missed. Maybe we want to take a little more off the back area. This is just kind of go over, check, see if we missed any loose hairs or anything. Remember, we're just going straight up here. One thing you always have to do with flat tops, because they're a symmetrical haircut, everything's straight and perfect on it, we want to look at the client head on like this, so we can make sure that everything's okay. Because sometimes our flat top might turn out like this for some reason. Maybe the client's sitting like this, kind of tired, and you give them a flat top, but then when they stand up straight, it's off to the side. So we always have to remember to kind of make sure we're on an even level here. Maybe if he sometimes crosses his legs or sits kind of different, we need to think of all those things. So, or we can look at him into the mirror. If that's our mirror right there, we can look into there and it'll give us a look back to see if anything's happening. Maybe one side's bulkier, maybe it slants to the side. There's a whole lot of things, but just look at him head on, because if you look at him from this angle, you can't get a clear look at it. So now if we look here, we see we left that corner long. That was one of our goals. We have those bangs. Those are long in there. In this corner as well we kept, and then we rounded off the back. One thing I'm going to do on John is give him a natural neckline again. That's kind of one of my favorite things to do. A lot of clients like it too, leaving a natural neckline opposed to blocking it off. So with that, I've gone number 2, which is on here. This is number 2. I'm going to drop down to a size 1.5 and just kind of taper that in a little more. So here's our 1.5 blade. Now it doesn't look like much is being cut, but it is. Because if you want a nice clean blend, nice clean taper going down, there has to be a lot of different steps of graduation. We're gonna go 2, 1.5, then 1, and then we'll go down eventually to 0. But if we're going to do the nape with the 1.5, let's go through here and touch up the sideburns a little more with the 1.5 as well. Now I'm going to go to the number 1. I never bought a number 1 blade for my detachable clippers because I consider this as being the number 1 blade, and that's 0. So I'm just going to use this to blend in just a little more here. Remember, I'm always cutting against the grain. If this wants to grow this way, I cut it this way. If it goes straight down, I cut upwards. So this is just kind of blending it in. One thing I like about the natural neckline is that you're never going to see this line. Sometimes you see that line that's there, and it's there for 3 weeks, and then you have a little fuzz down here, and then longer up here. And that line will never go away. But this way, if it grows out, it'll grow out naturally. And then maybe we'll hit the number, take the number 1 on the sideburns as well. Right through here. I used to work in a barber shop in Vista, California. We did a lot of military cuts. And there was such thing called a horseshoe flat top. And that was when you take this all the way down to the skin with the straight razor, the barber style straight razor, and you take the top down to the skin, right here down to the skin. So what you see is a definite horseshoe. But it would still be a flat top, although this is down to the skin. You still have those corners and everything. That was one style of a flat top. And I went over the slope flat top as well. And then you could do a lot of different things with flat tops, you know, leave the back long if you're into that kind of thing. Now he's got good hair for a flat top, so some flat tops can be a little more challenging, especially if they're bald. That can be a little hard. But it looks like we're okay. And there he goes. He's off. We'll see him next month. Thank you. This is how you would clean the clippers. You turn the clippers on and stick them in the blade wash, just like that. And you can see all the hairs that just jump out of there. You just want to kind of shake all the excess blade wash off of there, and then turn the clippers off. And then you can just wipe off the excess with a napkin here. Okay, this is another valuable cut that I feel I want to share with you. It's called the fade. So you're going to think of the word fade. It's going to fade from skin all the way up to hair on top. And this is going to be a skin fade, which means going all the way down to the skin. So it's going to be the same length as this beard right here, which is nothing. Size 0, if you want to call it a size. And one thing you got to keep in mind here is the color contrast. We're dealing with dark hair and really light skin. So you can notice the neckline too is really crazy, but that doesn't matter because we're going to take it all off. So right now, my clippers are on the 0 setting. This is number 1. This is 0 again. And I'm just going to go up to about right here, make a nice reference line. This line is kind of a guideline of how the whole haircut's going to be here. So you want to have a nice reference line that goes all the way across the head, all the way around the head here. If you're doing a low fade, which means low fade meaning the reference line being lower, you can kind of drop the reference line down a little bit. Come down like this with the reference line. But we're going to go straight around the head. Let's just go up here. We just want to stay right about eyebrow level right here. Kind of make sure you comb it all down. And notice I'm working upward like this. I'm not going in and digging like this and going down. If I did that, it'd be a much harder line to fade out, because eventually we're going to fade this line out. There's going to be no lines at all in the fade. Notice I'm rocking it out just a little bit here as we go to the top, just like that. That'll kind of make the line a little easier to blend out, because all this is a guideline. This is just to see what's happening here. Okay, and then you want to maybe look into the mirror and then spin your client around, all the way around here, and spin them back. Make sure that line doesn't droop down too much on one side. We'll make that line go nice all the way around, but again, we're going to fade it out, so it doesn't have to be a perfectly straight line all the way around. Now I have the number 2 blade, and I'm just going to go up and make a new line. So what's happening here is we have short, medium, long. I'm going to go through there and tighten this up just a little bit more. But you see the new line being created up here. And that's our new reference line. So if we have maybe 1 inch right here, we should do the same on both sides and in the back. So we want to do 1 inch on this side and 1 inch on the other side as well. This is a haircut that's popular with athletes or just anyone that hates to fuss and bother their hair but is kind of bored of a shaved head. Because this is like a shaved head, but only has a little more style to it. There's our second line. Now I'm going to switch up to the 3 3/4 blade. This is the longest metal blade I've ever seen. And you can see how wide that is. That's how the length of the hair is going to be. So we just put that on there. And we're just going to kind of knock this line out a little bit. If you're going to leave the top long, make the reference line low. Because if you have a long hair on top, it's going to take a lot more steps to go down to 0. So if you want the top short, you can make the line wherever you want. It could be a low line, it could be a high line. But just if you have a really high line and long hair on top, it's going to kind of look like Kid and Play, kind of a real high look, you know, and tight on the sides there. And then we pay attention to this cowlick, the swirl. It kind of comes this way. We want to work against it. We're taking all that off. And we have this coming this way. We'll just kind of knock that off too. See, I'm always working against the grain. I comb it this way and cut against it. Now I kind of see how that fades into the top. But it's still not totally faded because we can still see that line. But we can see it kind of blends a little better now. So now I know I said I hated the plastic guards that you attach onto your clippers, but in a few cases I like them. And the only 2 I ever use are the number one plastic guard. I use this a lot, especially on fades, because you can put it on the adjustable clippers, which are right here. You can put them on the adjustable clippers, and then you have the number 1 setting there and anywhere in between because you can adjust it. And also it's kind of small and it's a little bit flexible. But be careful, because if they pop off, you go right down to the skin. That's the reason I don't like the plastic attachment. So we'll put it on there again, make sure it's secure. And it looks like we're ready to go here. But the top, I'm going to use the number 4. Okay, so now I'm just going to go over his head, just with number 4, going against the grain. And we're just taking this off. Don't worry about the corners, we're going to cut those off. And you comb this way and cut against it. Those are maybe going to cut against. But do you see how there's straggly hairs here and there? That's what I don't like about these.